Kicking off the road to Macstock Conference and Expo with Mike Potter. This is MacVoices. Today's edition of MacVoices is supported by the MacVoices Dispatch, our weekly newsletter that keeps you up with everything MacVoices is doing. From our published episodes to Chuck's other appearances to special events and more, subscribe at macvoices.com/newsletter and stay fully informed so you don't miss a thing. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, it's almost spring where I am. It's starting to feel like, it teases you a little bit. And that means that a lot of things happen. The grass starts to grow, the flowers start to bloom. And we talk to Mike Potter about the road to Macstock. We get this series kicked off. So we talk to the folks who bring you Macstock, the presenters, Mike, of course, himself, and anyone else that we think you should hear from before you visit Woodstock, Illinois in July to go to Macstock. So with that, Mr. Mike Potter. Mike, welcome. It's good to have you.
Hi, Chuck. Well, if you've been reading the Macstock newsletters, I've been giving groundhog updates. We have Woodstock Willie in Woodstock, and every February he gives his predictions, and he predicted an early spring, and gosh darn if it isn't 60 plus degrees and beautiful out right now. So props to Willie for that. And Woodstock Willie aside, I wanted to thank you once again for taking us down the road to Macstock. This is, as much as I enjoy every single episode of MacVoices that I watch, I look forward to the road to Macstock every single year. These are by far some of my favorite episodes of MacVoices.
Mike, I love them too, because first of all, I get to talk to some old friends about some new subjects. But also, I have had the privilege of being introduced to some new friends through the road to Macstock. And so it's a win-win the whole way around. And listen, it's not just about us, it's about the viewers too. They get to meet the folks, learn just a little bit about them and what they're going to be talking about. And that way, then they're not just sitting down to a bunch of strangers in a conference hall. They're sitting down to hopefully somebody that at least they're familiar with, and maybe they can even call friends.
We learn so much about the presenters every year on this series. I learn so much about the presenters every year on this series, even those I've known for 10 plus years. I learn something new every gosh darn time I see them interviewed on Road to Macstock. So again, thank you. It's just such a great series.
Well, I appreciate you working with me to help me bring it to everyone. But we're not here to talk about the presenters just yet. We're here to talk about the event itself. It's still early, as it always is, but I like to get in early and make sure that people have it on their calendars and kind of get an idea of what you're planning this year. Because every year you tweak it. You make a little adjustment, sometimes a big adjustment. And so I want to know what's going to happen this year.
Oh, we did tweak things this year. Good call, Chuck. Yeah. Macstock has been tweaked for this year. Last year we tried something new. On Friday, we did 3 days last year, for one. That was new to Macstock. But then also new to Macstock last year was this concept of workshops. Longer, more in-depth presentations, hopefully more interactive presentations that those in attendance can work with the presenter and dive much deeper than we've ever dive much deeper into a topic than we ever have before. And the workshops were a success. People loved them. They really enjoyed them. And we had limited them to Friday, and we had made it an add-on. But because folks liked them so much, I thought this year what we would do is just, gosh darn it, we'll make Macstock 3 days long, and we'll intersperse these workshops throughout the weekend. How many there will be depends on how many submissions I get from potential presenters. But right at the moment, we've got 3 great workshops lined up for the weekend, and hoping to get at least 1, maybe 2 more. And then sprinkled throughout the rest of the days will be our regular 45-minute talks. So I'm excited for this new format because I think that it's going to give everybody the opportunity to just dig a little deeper into the topics than we've ever done before.
So I know what last year's workshops were like. Is there going to
Hmm.
be any significant difference? Is this primarily a matter of length, or is it going to be more potentially interactive? And again, I know it's early, so some of these have not been firmed up yet, but do you see there being a specific differentiation other than the length of time?
What I see is making the workshops feel more part of the weekend than being set off from the weekend. So, what we did as we were experimenting with workshops last year is they were all shuttled off to their own day. Now, by integrating them with the full weekend schedule, I hope to make them feel a little bit more part of that Macstock weekend experience, uh, versus just, hey, I bought the workshop ticket, so I get to see them. Oh, you only got a weekend pass? Well, sorry, you didn't see those wonderful workshops that were put on. So that's kind of the idea. The workshops will still be, or the intention is for them to still be 90 minutes. That's what they were last year, and that's what they'll be this year. And then our regular talks, if you will, our standard weekend talks will be the usual 45 minutes. So yeah, no change in length as such, just a change in how they're presented and when they're presented.
Okay. Yeah, that's great because you're right. They really, really they worked out so well last year, and the topics were
I thought
great, the
so.
presenters were great, and so
Yeah.
the idea of just integrating it in more has a good feel to it.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I think so. I think so. And the few folks I bounced the idea off very early on when I considered doing that said, "Oh, that would be fantastic. I would love to see them mix throughout the weekend schedule instead of having one big long day. We know that maybe Friday, Saturday, Sunday there'll be, one or two long talks throughout the day and then a bunch of shorter talks to break things up a bit more." So, yeah, folks seem to dig this new concept, and so I ran with it.
Great, great. So
Yeah.
just to be clear, we are talking about 3 conference days with the mix of
Yeah.
workshops and regular sessions.
Yep, exactly. Yep, it's going to be Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, which is July 11th, 12th, and 13th. Yeah,
Okay, that's terrific. That's
yeah.
terrific. Any other tweaks that are notable or
I
that you can
think
talk about?
that I can talk about. No, I think, for the most part, one of the other, since we're talking about workshops, one of the other confusions last year was what was included on the digital pass and what wasn't included on the digital pass. And specifically last year, the workshops were not included. This year, because they're integrated into the schedule, the digital pass that people get, which is the ability to go back and re-watch recordings of the presentations that took place throughout the weekend, that digital pass will include the workshop talks as well as the regular talks. So 3 days of digital pass for 3 days of Macstock. Yeah.
Great. And, that's a benefit that shouldn't be overlooked. If you come to Macstock, great. If you don't come, if you can't come to Macstock, it's a way to still benefit from the talks because I've gone back and
Yeah.
watched a number of them because this is what I expect from every good conference is I come kind of on overload. I've taken so many notes. There's so many great things that
Yeah.
I've learned that I want to try,
Yeah.
want to look into, and sometimes the best thing you can do is just go back and rewatch something to make sure that you absorb everything the presenter was giving, and then take it from there.
And from my own experience, I'm the one who edits down those talks to create the digital pass. And as I am editing them and rewatching the talks, I realize what I missed throughout the weekend. So it's a great way to kind of catch up on things. And even if the talk isn't technically longer than it was, at least in from my personal experience, I found I've caught stuff that I missed the first go around. So from that perspective, it's really good too. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and look, you're there with friends, and there's always, we often talk about the hallway track. So you get pulled out into the hallway
Mm.
into a conversation and either don't get back to a session or miss part of it. And this is a great way to make sure that you absorb all of it and get all the benefits from it, as well as the hallway track.
Yeah. Yeah. And, with the change in venue last year, and it's the same location this year, which is the Alara Convention Center at the Holiday Inn, Crystal Lake. With that change in venue, literally the hallway is much larger. We have much more space for that hallway track to take place. And, there are facilities within the hotel, including the restaurant and bar area, the lounges downstairs, the pool area, and yes, of course, the hallway just outside of the Macstock conference rooms. So, what I really was thrilled to see happen last year, and I expect will happen again this year, is the continuation of that and how much easier it is for people to continue talking about a topic before or after lunch, before or after the talks, and even into the evening, which is what we nerds did, right? That's what we did. We just kept talking about this stuff all night long, and so that was just fantastic. And this change in venue was one of the better moves we've made for Macstock in recent years.
I would agree. I mean, the other places you have been terrific. They each had
Oh,
their
sure.
advantages and drawbacks. They had their
Yep.
charms, but this is absolutely the best because this is a true conference facility with all that
Yeah.
implies, and you
Yeah.
get to stay on property too.
And you get to stay on property, which is amazing. I can actually stick around in the evenings rather than, because I always went home at night, right? I live in the area, so I went home at night. Now I have a room at the hotel just like everyone else, and I can stay there until the wee hours of the morning, drag myself up to bed at 3 in the morning, and get up at 7 to start the next day. So that's what we all do, and I don't think anyone is more tired because of it. It's just it's that adrenaline from the weekend that keeps us going.
Yeah, well, and look, you would have people believe that you drag yourself up to the room. There was a party every night in your room, so but
Oh, please.
we won't talk about that.
Was my wife hosting parties in the room that I didn't know about? Maybe so. I don't know. I wasn't invited if she was.
Oh, I don't. Well, never mind. We're going to leave it there. Um, so, can you tell us anything yet about the speaker topics, or scratch that? Every year you have a theme. Is there a theme this year, and if so, what is it?
There is a theme this year. I started doing that a number of years ago. 2018, I think, was the first year that we did a theme. So we were just a couple years into Macstock when that started, and the presenters and potential presenters and the attendees all seem to really enjoy that because they know going into it that there's going to be some common thread tying everything together, even if it's a very, very loose thread. And if you pull it just a little bit too much, it all falls apart, right? No. But there is a thread. It's usually a one-word theme. Last year was a little different, but this year we're back to the one-word theme. And sometimes it's a little trickier for people to come to grips with what to give a presentation on, and sometimes it's not. But my only rule to presenters, here's the one word theme. Now give me a proposal on something that you are super passionate and excited about. And if we can tie it into that, great. And I think this year is going to be fairly well, I don't want to make it sound like it's going to be simple, but the theme is share. And share has such broad connotations that I feel as if whether it's a presentation or a workshop, to be able um, to take a talk and work it into that idea of how you can share more with people is going to be a little bit more straightforward than some of the weirder themes I've picked in the past.
I like this. I like this. I can see how it could fit into so many different ways. So
Yeah.
share. Okay.
Share
That's good.
ideas, share concepts, share how just share how you do things. And I think that's really the core of what anyone's talk is. It almost every presenter picks something that they're really excited about. And I've heard from several who specifically say those words. I'm very excited about this thing, whatever this thing is this year. How do you think that would fit within Macstock? And more often than not, it fits perfectly, because when you have that kind of excitement and you have that kind of when you have that enthusiasm for a topic, that enthusiasm is going to carry through that presentation, and it's going to infect those in attendance with that same enthusiasm for the topic, and maybe encourage them to learn more about it later. And that's what I think, or that's where I think the value of attending Macstock comes in, is uh, hearing these concepts, hearing these new ideas. And I hear new ideas every single year, but hearing these ideas and then wanting to explore them more yourself. And I don't know how you learn, Chuck, but I learn by playing, by experimenting, by just trying new stuff. And that's how I learn. I don't necessarily read a book. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Books are fantastic reference material, but when I want to learn something, I dive in and I just try to figure it out. And if folks giving presentations can encourage people to dive into a topic and explore it more later, that's just fantastic news to me.
I I would add to that just the exposure to new ideas and new ways of doing things
Sure.
and new thinking. That
Yeah.
doesn't mean that it necessarily is all going to apply to you, but even if a healthy percentage of it does, even if a small percentage does, it's worth the trip, because then you take that back and you run with whatever it is. So that to me was one of the great things about Macstock last year is there were a number of new things, but most of all, there were new people there and
Hmm.
more new attendees than I think I remember in a while. And maybe that was just because of the facility and the ability to interact a little bit easier. But so it was fun getting to know some of these people, sit down at lunch table with. In fact, I try to make an effort to sit down with people I don't know, and
Yeah.
who are you? Why are you here? What are you getting out of it? What are you excited about? So that's great.
And we
That's great.
we do have already, we have quite a few new folks to Macstock. Never been before. They've always wanted to come. They've never been, and they're coming for the first time. In fact, one of our presenters is a first-time Macstock attendee, and I'm excited to hear her talk too.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
So, what else should we talk about at this point, other than just the obvious registration? Anything that you can talk about yet? Evening events or anything like that?
Well, there are a few ideas that are floating around out there, nothing concrete yet, so I really am not sure I should mention them. They've been presented to me as potential ideas for things to do in the evenings, but we're still trying to nail those down. So we'll talk about those a little bit later, probably. But one thing I can announce, and I'm pretty excited about this. Last year we had a new sponsor at Macstock, and that was Ecamm. Ecamm I reached out to them actually. The reason I reached out to them was because I was giving a talk on their product, Ecamm Live. And really, the only reason I reached out to them was just to say, hey, thought you might be interested. We're doing this at Macstock. And they said, how can we help? And so they stepped in and they took out a small sponsorship last year. Well, this year, Ecamm has said they approached me and said they would like to be much more involved this year. So I'm excited to announce here, and it will be going out in the Macstock newsletter this weekend, that we have a partnership with Ecamm at Macstock this summer. Not only will they be there in presence, but they will have a dedicated demo room where anyone can go and play and ask questions and explore their product, Ecamm Live. But also, they will be giving a sponsored 90-minute workshop over the weekend as well. And they really wanted to be involved more. And I think part of the reason it's such a good fit is because Ecamm Live is software that runs on the Mac, but they have their own amazing community that has formed around this product. Macstock has this amazing community that's formed around Macstock over the last 10 years, and there's just so much synergy between these two communities, and it's such a good fit. They're a small company, we're a small effort, and it just seems like it's going to be a really nice, exciting partnership. So that is something I can announce, that Ecamm is going to be a partner with Macstock this year.
That's great to find that they're coming back and even expanding their partnership.
Yeah.
And I should probably reveal that we are recording this interview on Ecamm. So
we are, aren't we? Yes.
Yeah. So I'm also an Ecamm user and enthusiast, and so I will be looking forward to the workshop. Hopefully, I can learn a few things that I don't know, because I definitely don't know it all. But it's a product worth checking out, both at Macstock and even before. So if you have questions, you can get them answered there right from the experts.
Right from the experts. And like I said, they're going to have a dedicated demo room the entire weekend that they're there. So pretty much Friday through Sunday, if you want to explore their product further, they're going to be there to help you not only see what you can do for cameras and microphones and things like that, but just how to use the software in general. And I can't say any more about it quite yet. We're still finalizing some of the details, but that's the core of the announcement. And I'm excited that they wanted to participate again this year, because they're great people, fantastic people, and they just released an update to their software this week, and the things they've added to it are just amazing. But I guess we'll find out about that at Macstock.
That's exactly why you need to come to Macstock.
That's right.
So, Mike, let's get down to it. How do people go about registering? What's the cost this year? What's included this year? Because that's always something that folks need to know as they make their plans.
Sure. Yeah. Well, we're recording Road to Macstock at a great time, because right now, as we are recording this and through the month of March, there is an early bird sale going on for the Macstock Weekend Pass. So normally the Weekend Pass is going to be $449, but with the early bird sale, it's $399, so $50 off. And that is, like I said, it's good through at March 29th. And that is for the entire weekend. So that's for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I hesitate to say the usuals are included, because I'm hoping we'll get a lot of new attendees this year. They won't know what the usuals are, but it's all the featured sessions and workshops for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday are all included. As I mentioned, the digital pass. Everyone who buys a weekend pass gets a digital pass. That is released post Macstock. As I mentioned, I do edit it down and get that released individually. So all the talks are released individually. So that'll be out within, well, I would say within a month or two. Probably more realistically within about month and a half after Macstock ends. The digital pass starts coming out, and people can rewatch the talks. It does include lunch all 3 days. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday lunch is included. There's always bonus swag. There's always going to be something fun and cool that you can get for attending Macstock. And of course, the commemorative Macstock t-shirt. That's a tradition I just can't let go. We've had commemorative t-shirts since 2015. So this year will be no different. I'll be, I've got 3 designs in mind. 3 designs, Chuck, right now. And I'm working through which one's going to work the best. But every year it's designed by me, for good or bad, and so I think people enjoy them. I think folks like it. I like seeing the Macstock t-shirt show up on MacVoices. That's always exciting to me when I see that. Any evening activities that we get scheduled and will happen over the weekend, whether it be on Friday night or Saturday night or Sunday, whatever. That'll be included if we have any. And right now at the moment, I can't can't say anymore, but there's something kind of fun and exciting we might do one of those nights. Um, what else? What else? What else? I guess that's about it. It's a fun weekend. I mean, look, the best. Uh, do I say it's the best part of Macstock? It's a darn good part of Macstock is the community. It's all the
Yeah.
people who attend, and maybe it is the best part of Macstock. You know, it's the fact that you are there, getting to see old friends, but like you said a moment ago, Chuck, meet new ones. Make an effort to introduce yourself to folks who've never been to Macstock before, and we do have new folks there. So get to know them; they'll get to know you, and you'll leave the weekend with more friends. And it's such a wonderful, tight knit community that I hear from folks all year long. Even when there isn't news about Macstock, I'll be getting emails, and we'll trade emails, and just a great group of people. Just a great group.
Um, okay, so oh yeah, accommodations. Is there a room block or anything special that needs to be asked for
Oh,
when you're calling?
that is a fantastic question. I'm glad you brought that up. Yes, there is a room block. This is, as I mentioned, this is being held in the Alara Convention Center, which is part of the Holiday Inn Crystal Lake, so Crystal Lake, Illinois. And there is a room block available, and you can find that information on the Macstock site. It's there's a section on the home page with a link to the lodging page, but also up in the menus of the Macstock site, there is a venue link in the menus, and it's a fantastic price. So every year, in fact, they've offered room blocks even before they were the host to Macstock, but the cost of the room is $119 a night. It's very difficult to find a hotel for that rate these days, and that's a king or queen room, and they're very nice. They just recently remodeled within the last few years too, so uh, good rooms. Block is open and available, and yeah, book your rooms and get your ticket to the weekend pass because it's going to be a great weekend.
Agreed. Agreed. I should correct myself, and I've got to start training myself. I always introduce Macstock as Woodstock, Illinois, and it's now Crystal Lake because now I know they're geographically close, but I want to be accurate here.
Well, they are geographically close, and the interesting thing about that, Chuck, is that the very first venue that we ever had, McHenry County College, is sometimes referred to as being in Woodstock and sometimes referred to as being in Crystal Lake because it literally sits like right on the border between the two. And I think their official address is Crystal Lake, but the radio station that's right in the same parking lot as McHenry County College is considered Woodstock. I, I don't know. I don't know. But I am a Woodstockian. My business is based out of Woodstock, and Macstock, of course, got its name because of that. So, yeah, it's not wrong to say Woodstock, Illinois, Chuck. Just know if you're actually trying to find it, you're going to be looking in Crystal Lake, not Woodstock.
So Macstock Conference and Expo will be held somewhere in Illinois.
Somewhere in Illinois, somewhere
Yeah.
in northern Illinois. Good luck finding it. No, no,
Yeah.
no. It's right there. If you go to the location page and the venue, I've got a OpenStreetMaps map on there with a little pin showing where the Holiday Inn Crystal Lake is, and all the information about getting your room block and all that kind of stuff is there. And yeah, I again, not to talk too much about this, but I love the facility. People come in from the airport, they check into their room, you're there for the weekend. There is no driving around all over McHenry County unless you want to. And there are tons of great things to do in the area. So if you stick around or you come early or you stay late, there's lots and lots of great stuff to do, including going into Woodstock or going to, say, the Volo Auto Museum or just parks. I mean, there's amazing county parks all over if you like to go hiking. So lots of great stuff to do in the area. And I do encourage people to stay a little bit longer if they can and explore or take the train into the city because there's train stations right there in Crystal Lake or Woodstock. So,
Yeah,
and by the city, I mean Chicago. When I say the city, I mean Chicago.
Yeah, we did that one year, and it's an easy trip, and of course, Chicago is Chicago.
Yeah.
You don't need to sell Chicago; it'll sell itself. So
very easy trip. Yeah.
All right, so Macstock Conference and Expo in Crystal Lake / Woodstock in July.
Good way to
Macstock Conference and Expo. Go register. Plan to join Mike. Join me. Join all the folks you're going to hear from on Road to Macstock, along with a whole lot of others. We're going to have a ball. It's absolutely one of my favorite weekends of the year, and that's all there is to it. You'll be hearing a lot more as we go on in MacVoices.
And if you don't already subscribe, please subscribe to the Macstock newsletter, because as presenters are announced, I'm going to give little sneak peeks of both the presenters and their talks in the newsletter in the weeks to come. So watch for that too.
Great. Thank you. Yeah. So there's one more thing to do, folks. We have a things to do list after this show. Mike, listen, every year you make at least two or three appearances here, sometimes one sort of in the middle to bring us up to speed on what's going on, and then one right before. So we will see you again. Definitely we'll see you at Macstock.
Sounds good. I'll be there. I plan to be there, Chuck.
I'm glad. I'm glad to hear that. Folks, I'm Chuck Joyner. This is MacVoices and the Road to Macstock, along with all our other great content. I hope you will pay attention to the interviews, because I'm already looking forward to them, and I don't even know who they're going to be with yet. Until the next time, and as always, thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices, or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you MacVoices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CashFly at cashfly.com.